say don't get too close to the fire. I might get...
Well, guys, I am so excited. Joining us right now, he is an amazing songwriter, and I've been so looking forward to talking to you, Mr. Terry McBride. Thank you for giving us some of your time today.
Hey, Brett, it's a pleasure to see you and to meet
Yeah.
you. Thanks for having me on. My boots are squeaking. I just came in from the snow. I can hear this through my, I've got these sort of Ugg boots to try to get out in the snow.
Are you in Nashville or Texas?
Yeah, I'm just outside of Nashville.
Oh, okay.
So we got about 7 inches of snow on the ground, which is crazy for us. Here it never sticks around. This is the third day of it. So it's been pretending like I'm living in Jackson Hole, Wyoming or something at the moment, because it's we don't have the elevation, but it's a lot of snow for us here.
Oh, it is. I've been keeping up. I'm supposed to be in Nashville next Thursday and Friday, so I hope it'll be gone by then, though.
Yeah, it will be. We're going to get another blast tomorrow, and then it'll warm up a little bit next week. But
y'all are getting more?
Yeah, we have ice and snow coming tomorrow.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it's been crazy. I think the high today is like 15. It's just unusual for us, -1 at night. And we had this last year for about a week. I'm in my little studio, and it's having a hard time warming up here today. It's about 60 in here. So I got my jacket on.
Oh, goodness gracious. I'm about 3 hours and 45 minutes, 4 hours from Nashville, and it's cold up here in the mountains too. It's in the single digits, or it was this morning.
Yeah, I think you were about to get blown away the last time we tried to do this. So
yeah, oh yeah, it was bad. We had a real bad storm, and my internet connection would not cooperate.
Yeah, I hear you. It came through here that night. We had those big gusts. It was crazy for us too. But
well, I'm just going to start off with this. I remember. First off, Terry, I am a huge, and I tell all my guests this, I am a huge 90s country historian.
Yeah.
And for some reason, since I was 8, 9 years old, my first concert was Little Texas at Dollywood.
Oh, crazy.
Yeah, when Tim was,
what year
was still with him. That would have been 91, 92.
Oh, wow, right at the beginning of all that good stuff.
Oh, yeah. And I used to collect tapes and CDs, and I knew everything. So the first thing I wanted to jump into, just to show you my fandom of 90s country and why I even do this podcast, is I bought the album or the tape. I still call them albums and records, but
sure.
I bought Hurry Sundown.
Oh, man.
And I wore it out.
Oh, man.
Oh, yeah. And
that was about 93.
Yep.
Yeah, so you're just a little bit older then, but yeah, man, I remember that record well. I think I have a copy too somewhere. I'll have to look.
I'd hope you would.
I don't throw much out, but I have a little place where I store all of my stuff that my wife doesn't want at our house. So
yeah,
it works out really well. It's kept our marriage going, and I can also work out of here. I can record and do vocals and things. And rehearse here. It's a great space. The band, some of the guys come in. One of our partners, Ray, is from out in Phoenix. So if we do something in Nashville, he comes and stays a day, especially recording and things like that. So it's a good space, and it's a good place to keep all that stuff. I have a lot of that from the 90s as well, posters and some good stuff as well.
Let me ask you, do you ever play Love on the Loose still live?
Oh, every night. That's
good.
Yeah, even solo shows, I'll do that.
Okay.
Usually kind of kick off the set sometime. It's just a fun, good up-tempo song,
Oh, yeah, that's cool. I wanted to get that out of the way, just let you know.
I appreciate that, those sales going all the way back.
Oh, yeah, yeah, definitely. Well, I am also a huge, huge fan of songwriting, and so looking at your list of songs that you have written and cut by other artists, it's astounding. But I want to know, as we get into this, tell me about your friendship with Ronnie Dunn. I saw a lot of co-writes with Ronnie. I thought
Yeah.
it's pretty cool.
Well, it worked out. This business is crazy. You meet all kinds of people. You never know how things are going to happen in life in general.
Yeah.
And especially in the business that I'm in, it's so a lot of it's out of my control. Once I write a song, I don't really know where it's going to go. I can try to direct it to maybe an artist or a producer or someone that I know, and in hopes that maybe they might record it, or just in hopes that they might like it,
Yeah.
and then we'll see what happens after that. But so I was, during those early '90s, like you talked about earlier, as we were talking, some of those acts we got to tour with, one of them was Brooks and Dunn, and Brooks co-wrote a #1 song for us, "Sacred Ground."
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's the co-writer on that song. So I actually met Kix before I knew Ronnie.
Oh, okay.
I met Kix at the #1 party for Sacred Ground, which was a great way to meet a guy. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
we were all high fiving. It was a fun event, and Kix is a great guy, and has been a dear friend to me as well. He's just as solid as they come. We've done a lot of things together, Ronnie and Kix and I, hunting, racing cars, fun guy stuff and guy trips, and we did a lot of that over the years. So Kix was just great. At the end of the night, on the road with those guys, I'd go over and hang with Kix sometimes too, just to get caught up.
Okay, good deal.
Because I like him, just as a person. He's been a friend for a long time. But as McBride and the Ride was winding down, I was fortunate to start getting some songs recorded by other artists, George Strait, John Anderson. It was an exciting time for me as a songwriter, because I wasn't sure what was going to happen after the band. I wasn't really wanting to go put a band together, and I've been doing it hard for the last 5 years, but I did want to try to take a break and focus on writing. And because of that, I wrote with a couple people. One of those songs ended up being recorded by Brooks and Dunn, and it was a song called "I Am That Man." It was a single on the Borderline album. It was the follow-up to "My Maria." It was that era.
Okay.
So with that being said, I was over at the label one day. The guys were on Arista back then, and I ran into Ronnie, and he was just like, "Man, we cut your song. It's going to be a hit. We're going to release it." I was like, "Oh my God, this is so great," because it's great to get a song cut, but also having a song cut by one of your acts that you really respect. And I loved Ronnie's voice. He was one of my favorite singers. I mean, from the first time I heard him, I went, "Well, that's different, and that's cool." He's that honky tonk tenor kind of guy. He's got great range. Those big ballads, he can kill it.
Still sounds amazing.
Oh, 70 years old, and he's killing it. His falsetto is so strong, and like "My Maria." And we had several songs that we wrote, a couple of hits that we tried to include that kind of thing. So anyway, I met Ronnie really for the first time. He's like, "Man, come over to the house. I want to hang out." And I've always been a fan. He just couldn't have been any nicer. He was just so cool, And I was thrilled because he was one of my favorite singers. So went over and met him, his wife Janine, and we just hit it off, man. He said, "Hey, I'm getting a bus. I'm getting off the band bus." He and Kix in the band were all still on one bus.
Oh wow!
It was they'd already had some hits, big hits. First album, Brand New Man, all that was already out. But they were getting ready to get his own bus, and he said, "Man, why don't you come go with me? I'm going to California for like 15 days." And I said, "Heck yeah, man, I'll do it." And we wrote like 10 songs on that trip. "He's Got You" was one of them, and there were some others in that trip. So after that trip, Ronnie said, "Hey, man, this went so well. Let's do it again. When the bus rolls, just come get on it, And that turned into 13 years. That's what I did. That was kind of my life from that moment forward. Ronnie would just call and say, "Hey, man, we're going to New York. We're going to go film. We're going out to tape the Tonight Show. Come go with." It was just tons of that. And then we're going to go hunt. We're going to go hang out. We're going to write, and it was just killer. And I did it for 10 years, and then the last 3 years they made a change in the band, and they asked me to play bass, and so I was in the band as well for 3 years, which was really crazy. I mean, I love those guys. I kind of liked being able to come and go. Now all of a sudden I was an employee as well. It was it was a lot, but I traveled with Ronnie. I rode the bus with him, so it was an easy gig. They flew me everywhere. They were hillbilly rock stars, so it was the best of times, and they treated me as an equal on everything they did. It was they couldn't have treated me any better. And then uh, with Ronnie and being in the band, I didn't really want to do it because I didn't. It was just a lot. I thought I don't want to get involved so much where I'm a friend, I'm a co-writer, now I'm an
Mhm.
employee. It was a lot, but they were
Mhm.
adamant. They're like, "Man, you're out here eating our catering every night. Come on." And Ronnie's like, "Nothing's gonna change, man. We're gonna write hits." I went, "Dang, he's making it sound pretty good."
Yeah.
He was selling it, man. And then he said, "Hey, man, come on and take the gig because the first night we're going to get in a little jet. We're going to fly out to Omaha, Nebraska, and we're going to open for the Rolling Stones." He said. So
What?
that was my first night in the band. Yeah, opening for the Rolling Stones. So
Oh,
I thought,
wow.
yeah, it was a memorable
Wow.
night to say the least. And the Stones were killer. I'd heard them before, but oh, they were great that night. And
Mm.
it was a fun way to get started. And then that went up to about 2010. Then the guys retired
Mhm.
and took a break. At that point, they just
Right, right.
hiatus, as it is known now. But and so I went on. I didn't play the farewell tour. I just felt like it was a time for
Okay.
me to sort of exit. And
Mhm.
I'd signed with a publishing company, and I was trying to get back onto Music Row and get connected with everybody. And I still had done a lot of writing with co-writers with a lot of people on Music Row, but I really realized with Ronnie, taking a break, I needed to focus on some other things. Developed a couple little acts, and just stayed busy, just like I'm doing now. Really,
Yeah.
still working with some young artists and a lot of Texas guys, and
Mhm.
it's keeping me busy. And then we're touring. The band is touring, and I'm doing solo shows as well. Getting ready to
Yeah.
head out with Doug Stone, another '90s
Oh, come
act.
on.
I have several shows with him coming up,
It's his
and
last year.
yeah, I guess it's going to be it. He still sings good. He plays really well.
Mm.
I just did a show with him in Greenville, and he's just at that point where he's ready to take a break.
Oh, man. Yeah. Well, that's he's been doing it a long time. I saw the
He's
announcement that he was gonna try to start hanging it up.
Yeah, it's he went from the band. He's doing mainly solo things now, and
Mhm.
then we do a little song swap type thing, which is fun, and kind
Okay.
of get kind of gotten to know each other through that. I knew a lot of his music. He wasn't sure about the things I'd written. He didn't know, so it made it fun. And the crowd is great. It's our crowd. And
Yeah, oh, yeah.
he ends the night with Pine Box. You can't beat that. So
Yeah.
that's
Man.
killer song, great tune.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's cool. That's very
And
cool.
yeah,
And so
yeah,
you and
that gets the year started off. And
oh, yeah.
then we're going down to Austin doing some cool stuff. I'm doing an event down there. I'm being inducted in the Texas Songwriter Hall of Fame.
I see that. I was going to
And
ask you about that. That's pretty
well,
incredible.
speaking of Ronnie, he's hosts that show, and
Yeah.
so I'll be doing songs with him that night. Each inductee does 3 songs, and so it's going to be special because Ronnie's a part of it.
Oh, man. And I see that Jack Ingram, John
Yeah.
Randall, Ruthie
Hmm.
Foster, and Eric Johnson. I am
Yeah.
not familiar with Eric or Ruthie, I don't think.
Well, if you ever played Guitar Hero as a kid,
Okay.
you might have heard the Cliffs of Dover. That was
Oh.
one of the. That's Eric Johnson.
Oh. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
A lot of
Awesome.
kids, a lot of people don't realize, might not know who he is. I mean, of course, I do, and have
Yeah.
grown up in Austin forever. But he's a guitar hero. He's that album alone. He's a Grammy-winning,
Mm-hmm.
world class guitar
Yes.
player.
Well, thank you
And
for clarifying.
I saw Post Malone talking about him the other day because
Cool.
he learned to play guitar from Guitar Hero, Post Malone,
I did
and
not
he's
know that.
yeah, that's what's inspired him to play guitar. And so he said, if I could ever get to the point someday where maybe I could learn the Cliffs of Dover, he said. I thought
Oh,
that's
wow.
pretty cool. So
That
Eric has
is.
touched a lot of people.
Oh,
Ruthie is an amazing artist that I didn't know a lot about because I've been gone from Austin for a lot of years. So
right.
she's really sort of a mainstay there, very respected. People love her, and you can see why when you check out her music and see what she's done. So it's a interesting cast. I've known Jack forever. He recorded a song of mine early on. I was always a fan of his. And John, I've known and written
Mm-hmm.
with over the years, and it's going to be fun. Texas is that's where I was born and raised and lived
Yeah.
there until 91, and
Mm-hmm.
now I go back all the time. Our
Oh,
music is
do you?
still accepted there. Our new music even is done well. We get a little airplay. I've had a couple hits on the Red Dirt charts, which is
Yeah.
fun, and then I've had some hits with other artists, Josh Ward, and
Oh,
um,
yeah. I know who that is.
a lot of these younger artists. There's tons of them. A couple of them I haven't even met that have recorded my songs. But there's
What
a whole world going on down there.
that that brings me to this. The they call it, what do they call it? The did you say Red Dirt
Yeah,
Country? Yeah,
Red Dirt chart. That's
Red
actually a
Dirt.
chart,
Yeah, it's its
and
own.
Red Dirt. Yeah.
Yeah, it's huge.
Oh yeah.
I mean, and it's pretty much just Texas, correct?
Well, now
Or is it Oklahoma?
it's become a little more regional. It's
Okay,
always kind of been Oklahoma, but it's
okay.
also New Mexico and Kansas,
Oh,
uh,
okay.
and California. They even have reporting stations in all of those states
Oh,
for just the Red Dirt chart. Yeah.
oh, wow.
It
Yeah.
has expanded beyond Texas, but with acts like Cody was
Uh huh.
really one of those guys. But way before Cody, it was Pat Green, it was Robert Earl
Mhm.
Keen. When
Mhm.
I was a kid, it was Jerry Jeff Walker. Willie Nelson was living in Austin. It was pretty mind blowing. Rusty Weir, Gary P. Nunn, Ray Wiley Hubbard. The list goes on and on. The outlaw movement was exploding when I was in high school in the 70s.
Mm.
So I grew up 60 miles down the road, and it was an exciting time to be a musician. I was in a band in high school, and we were playing all of those songs from Jerry Jeff off of that Viva Terlingua record. Those songs were like hits in Texas, and it
Wow.
was a fun time. It's
Were y'all playing in Austin a lot in high school, or you? Or,
we weren't doing Austin a lot, although we did play there. We were going to A&M,
yeah.
Bryan College Station, doing like frat parties and things like that.
Mhm.
I was a freshman in high school, and these guys were older. They were like seniors, and freshmen in college.
Oh,
But
wow.
they were wildly popular, very popular. Real traditional country. It was all fair and young. Ray Price,
Oh, wow.
tons of Johnny Bush, because Johnny Bush was king in Texas in the 70s. He was and Gary Stewart and all that great stuff. It was just the Texas. It was whatever you could two-step to. Tons of
Yeah.
shuffles, a little bit of, as things progressed, a little bit of ZZ Top and things like that. For some rock and roll stuff.
Man, you cut your teeth. You learned from. I mean, you did. You cut your teeth on some good stuff. You got a lot of education just by being in that environment, I'm sure.
Well, I did. I was fortunate to be in a band with these guys. We were all friends, but they were all really good musicians.
Mm.
Especially our steel guitar player, who also played guitar. He was one of those brainy steel guitar guys, almost a mathematician. It's a crazy
Yeah.
instrument. But he was great with arrangements. But prior to that, Britt, my dad was an amazing musician. He was a touring musician. He
Yes, I
was
saw that.
he was he had a dozen charted singles on Billboard. He When I was in high school, he was on an independent label in Nashville having some success. And
Hmm.
William Morris was booking him. We had a tour bus,
Oh, wow.
and my dad had built an amazing studio in Lampasas where I was growing up, and we were bringing all these wonderful musicians from Austin over. And that's really how I got connected to the Austin scene, was through these musicians. I was playing bass in my dad's studio, and I would meet these guys, and a couple in particular, Reese Winan was our piano player, and Reese was playing with Delbert McClinton at the time.
Oh.
Then he went on to play with Stevie Ray Vaughan, and now he's with Joe Bonamassa. But Reese was an amazing musician, and he just kind of took me in. He had a gig for me, a cocktail lounge gig at the Hyatt Hotel in Austin, Texas, and he was part of that band. Ernie DeRava was the drummer from the Texas Tornadoes, and he was really great friends with my dad, and he was our drummer that did a lot of the stuff in the studio. So I was getting connected and exposed to a lot of amazing musicians,
Wow.
and I was fortunate that a couple of them, reached out and helped me and introduced me to some people. And Reese put a band together. I was the lead singer, and it
Oh.
was kind of all of Delbert's band. Then later, I auditioned for Delbert and played bass for him for 2 years,
Oh,
and
wow. Okay.
went on the road with him in '86 and '87, and learned so much from that experience. I just
Mm.
loved Delbert. We hit it off and became more than just, you know, a guy playing bass. We became pals and have over the years. But yeah, I mean, the Texas scene was interesting going all the way back. Britt, I guess is kind of my point.
Yeah.
I don't know what my point is, but
I
the
love
music's the
it.
music
Keep
that
talking. I'm listening.
well, that music scene in Austin was
Mhm.
pretty exciting, and you can
Man.
tell as I talk about it and think about it,
Yeah.
it's still exciting. And
Mhm.
some of the
That's
opportunities that I got along the way were just life changing for me in a slow way. It was just I was slowly moving forward. It was
mm.
I was already well into my 20s and was kind of wondering what am I going to do. I'm kind of a well respected singing bass player at that point who's
Mm.
writing songs, but not having much luck with that. I was starting to make trips to Nashville and
Mhm.
starting to meet some people, but I was really a working bass player at that point that could
Mm.
sing as well. That's kind of was my job at the time during my struggling musician phase.
Oh wow. Did your dad influence a lot of your musical abilities and
Oh yeah. Oh,
yeah.
he was the major influence in my
Yeah.
life. I looked up to my dad. He was like Elvis. He was a rockabilly guy in the beginning.
Oh
He could
wow.
play all that cool Scotty Moore guitar. He was an exceptional guitar player and
Mm.
very self-taught but very schooled
Oh wow.
musician. He could read and write notation. He would write violin parts for our sessions by hand, and which is an amazing feat that I can't
Wow.
do.
Wow.
And not many people do much anymore unless you're in that world where it requires you to be knowledgeable of notes,
Yeah.
you know, take the coda, rest. But my dad taught me all that when I was a kid. He taught me how to read charts. So when I was 13, I could go on the road and I could read almost all of his set from a
Oh
dance
man.
cocktail set to his floor show, which included impersonations, five-string banjo, yodeling, and then an hour or two of dance set after that. But he had it all written out in these enormous chord books, chart books, and a big music stand where you could spread it out, 2, 3, 4 pages long. And he taught me to take the coda, the first ending, the second ending, and it
Oh
was
my
fun.
goodness.
But it allowed me to sit in with the band. I needed to know the song, but I could really read it as a
Mm.
player, which would keep me from getting completely lost, which
Mm.
made the band feel a whole lot better about me sitting in and playing. The bass is a big note, especially when it's in the wrong key or
Oh,
it's
yeah.
it's a big, big note. I mean, it's you need to be on and you need to know what you're doing. It's a
Oh
simple
man.
instrument, and that's the way my dad taught me to kind of play it. Keep it
Mhm.
simple. He was the guitar player. I was the guitar player. My dad gave me a guitar when I
Mm.
was 9, but then when I was about 11, 12, he started grooming me to be his bass player is what he
Okay.
was. Yeah,
Okay.
he said, "You want to play? Here's what I need. I'm going to need a bass player. They're hard to find, especially one that can sing." He was already
Boy, isn't
telling
that
me.
the truth?
Yeah,
Wow.
he's like,
It
"Here's
is.
how it's going to be." I went,
Man.
"Okay, I'm going to work at it," because that's what I wanted to do when I was a kid. I just wanted. When you're young like that, you look up to your dad. You want to be in his band.
Mhm. Oh man. It that blows my mind. I don't know if you know this guy or not. I just thought of him because he's the first person I used to play with him all the time, but I feel like he does know you. His name's Tom Ryan. He's from Athens, Georgia, but he's a bass player and singer, and
Tom Ryan.
he traveled for years with
Mm-hmm.
a lot of artists in Nashville. But I feel
Wow.
like he
I
maybe
bet
I'm
I've run into him
mistaken, but
somewhere along the way.
oh yeah. So when you said it's hard to find a bass player, I used it's especially one that can sing. It's and sing
Yeah,
harmonies.
yeah, that's what I did a lot of that.
Yeah,
Learned through my dad, and then
yeah.
started out in church. I was in the choir,
Mhm.
learned how to sing and read a little bit of music, and then that was my first stage, I guess, the church. It's a pretty good
Yeah.
crowd,
Oh yeah.
built in audience every
Oh
Sunday.
yeah.
So
Yep.
that was a lot of fun. And then my dad really kind of he wasn't crazy about me being a musician, which was kind of a strange thing when I was
Huh.
young. He just it was a struggle for him.
Right.
He had a lot of success, but no one really knows who he is. That's kind of the music
Mm.
business and one
Mhm.
side of it. An extremely talented guy, uh,
Mm.
very respected and very knowledgeable kind of guy. He really ran the studio. He could conduct, and he was a really sharp guy. Very serious.
Mm.
So when it came to me being in the band, I was young, ready to do whatever, but I'm also working for my dad, so
Yeah.
I had to
Yeah.
reel it in to some degree. I also drove the bus a lot, so I had responsibilities as a young guy out of high school. My dad,
Oh, wow.
my dad felt comfortable enough to let me drive this Greyhound bus across the country, double clutching 4-speed, and that I'd had sideways on an interstate before in the rain, coming off an overpass with my dad sitting there, and the whole bus came up off the ground, just sliding.
Oh, no.
Yeah, we
That
shifted fourth to third, and the whole bus went
that
sideways on us. And my dad was yelling, "Hold it in the road, son!" I remember distinctly to this day him yelling, "Hold it in the road, son!" And somehow I did, Britt, without taking out. It was early in the morning,
Oh,
there wasn't
no.
a lot of traffic yet, and when you shift down, it's almost like braking, especially when the road is wet like that.
Oh, man.
Big
Before
concrete.
CDLs.
Yeah. Well, it was privately owned. I didn't have to have
Oh,
one.
that's
See,
yeah, okay.
it's a private owned coach. You can drive it like a motorhome. You can have
Oh,
your
man.
you can have your grandma in there driving if you want. Which
Um,
I'm surprised we did. We had a couple drivers that my grandmother would have been a better driver. I can tell you that.
did your father did he get to see your success with McBride and the Ride, or I don't
Right
know
at
his
the
his
very
story.
end. Yeah, my dad passed away unfortunately in '92.
Mm.
Right as our career was taking off. My
Mm-hmm.
dad was diagnosed with a rare form of brain cancer, which is just sad to
Mm.
even say it is sad, let
Mm-hmm.
alone for a guy who passed away at 54.
Oh, wow.
Um, now that I'm 65, it's really
Mm-hmm.
shocking how short my father's life was. But
Mm-hmm.
you know, he did. We were able. My dad was already having treatment, and he was in a bad way, but he made it out to the show. It was, I think it's called Dance Across Texas in Austin, at the height of our sort of like 92,
Mm-hmm.
and the stations there in Austin had just been wearing our songs out. They were just great. They were a big old FM station there, in particular, Case 101. It's still there today, and KVET. They just played the heck out of our songs. So we had them lined up and packed the place. And my
Oh.
dad he was amazed. He had also come to Dallas. We had played an amphitheater with the Judds.
Mm.
We were on tour with the Judds in
Were you
'91.
really?
Oh yeah, we did tons of dates. We had the same manager. Um, so when we got signed and we signed to Ken, our manager, the first thing he did was put us on tour with the Judds.
Was that their
And
farewell tour?
yeah, it was right before the farewell tour.
Oh, wow.
And then we did a lot of the farewell tour as well.
Mm.
Then we did a lot of Winona solo tour. We
Oh, that
became
first record
Yeah, the very first single.
that was skyrocketed.
We became close, or I did, with
Yeah,
Winona, and spent some time with her and her
huge
mom back in
fan.
the day.
Huge
Yeah,
fan.
they were great. I mean, they
Yeah.
had a great band. Their production, everything was very. You imagine, I'd come from Delbert R&B world to club band guy to this huge stage with all this production,
Oh,
and
yeah.
it was amazing. I mean, I had a good taste of it with Delbert. We were on tour with Huey
Right.
Lewis in 1986. We
Oh.
did the 4 tour with Huey Lewis, Tower of Power, right on the heels of, Back to the Future and all that.
Oh.
So Huey was a massive pop rock star during
Oh,
that period,
yeah.
all arenas, and it was wonderful. And Delbert exposed me to a lot of wonderful things and touring, and like a master class of how to rock the house every night. You can't beat
Oh, I
that.
bet. I bet you could learn a lot just by watching Delbert's uh stage
Oh,
show, you
he's
know.
a pro. He's a
Um
pro, and he's a serious guy, and he's also a great songwriter. So I had that as well going for me, and
oh,
learning
man,
from a
it's
guy who had written some of my favorite songs. It was a great experience to say the least. But yeah, all that adds up. I left Delbert because I was frustrated. I loved Delbert. I loved that gig. I could have just stayed there.
yeah.
But I knew in my gut I wanted to do more than just be a bass player. There's nothing
Mhm.
wrong with that.
Oh, yeah.
If you've got the right gig and you're happy, then you can't put a price on that.
Right.
but for me, I was writing these songs, and I wanted to try and start writing more. I wanted to focus
Mm-hmm.
on it. I also wanted to clean my act up. I was, I've been drinking a lot, and
Mm-hmm.
I was spiraling sort of down into a place I didn't want to be. So I took a break from all that. I got sober, and I started writing these songs. And man, shortly into that, not knowing what I was going to do phase, my drummer friend from Delbert said, "Man, this guy Bill Carter's putting a band together, and he's looking for a bass player. You should go audition because I'm going to go. I'm going to play drums." I went and auditioned. I got the gig, and Bill and his wife Ruth Ellsworth had been writing songs and getting them recorded by Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Uh-huh.
They wrote Crossfire,
Oh.
Willie the Wimp, and his Cadillac Coffin,
Oh.
Fabulous Thunderbirds, and so I got the gig. So we left Austin, Texas, and hit the road opening for Stevie Ray Vaughan all the way to New York City and back. And during that tour, I played some of my home demos for Bill, and then I met Ruth. When we get off that tour, they're like, "Let's start writing." I went to their house. We started writing. We started recording, and then we started made our first trip to Nashville, and that's how I got signed from
Oh.
our trip through writing tunes. Those guys were amazing songwriters. They were way into country music. They really liked my little country voice, and we just started writing songs around it. "Can I Count on You?"
Mm-hmm.
Same Old Star, that whole "Burning Up the Road." I think 9 of those 11 are songs I wrote with Bill and Ruth and
Oh,
Gary
wow.
Nicholson, and that started me on my path, to getting my foot in the door here in Nashville, thanks to those guys
Mm-hmm.
and Jody Williams, who heard our demos and made appointments for us to meet every major label head in Nashville. It was a great experience. I had been coming here though, Brett, and being rejected. It wasn't
Mm-hmm.
going great. I had good ideas, okay songs, but Nashville wasn't built on okay songs.
Mm-hmm.
It required more than that. And with Bill and Ruth, they took me in. They elevated my level of writing. I learned so much from them, and they used me as sort of the voice through these songs. And I couldn't have been in a better position.
Oh, man. That's incredible. I love hearing that. Um, Tell me about. I love the title is incredible, but the EP is even better. Uh, the Marlboros and Avon that came out last year.
Yeah,
Uh, First record in 20 years.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think the last record we did, we got together briefly, like in '02 maybe,
Yeah.
and we cut this album that we were really proud of. Matt Rawlings produced it, and we all played and sang on it like we always did. And
Mm-hmm.
it was called Amarillo Sky.
Mm-hmm.
It was the song that Jason Aldean later recorded.
Yeah.
But we found that song from John Rich. He and Big Kenny had written it with a couple other writers, and we loved that song. We thought we had a
Yeah.
hit. Unfortunately, our label thought it was too Texas, too regional.
You're
But
kidding.
I thought it was a bit. No, unfortunately, no.
I love y'all's
We're
version. I've I
oh
I,
man.
I heard that y'all's version way before Aldean cut it. So
Well, and really, Aldean's producer is my old publisher, Michael Knox, and
oh,
he,
cool.
and he said, "Man, we love your version, and we're just going to rip it off." So they kept a lot of what we did
Mm-hmm.
with that because we really brought a lot to that little demo when we found the song. We worked hard on
Yeah.
that tune because we just felt it was a great song. I mean, I didn't
Yeah.
write it. I just
Right.
Unfortunately we found it, but we knew it was a good song. So sometimes that's the way it happens. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
not everybody was on the same page, and if you don't have that, then
Mm-hmm.
you really don't have a chance. So then so that was our next. You're right. This was our next project going all the way back to like '02. So that was 20 years, and we found this song through a guy who sent me a message on Facebook. He knew a lot of the writer friends and people that I knew, and so we talked a little bit. And he sent me this song, and I was knocked out with it. It He offered. He said, "Man, if you want to tweak it and make it your own," and there were a couple things I wanted to say to make it more personal,
Right.
and he allowed me to do it. He and Bill that co-wrote it with him, Bill Vaughn. But just happened to find it in a roundabout kind of crazy way through Facebook. So, but the demo was really
Huh.
cool that he had. We changed it a little bit, but it just fit us, and played it for the guys. They really could hear it after the first listen. We could tell could be something. It it hit home for us, you know, and instead of just another honky tonk song, which we love all that kind of stuff, and
Yeah.
I'm still doing and still singing, but it was something different. It was a little more, you know, it was reflecting back to those days that I remember well in high school, and then
Mm.
that era of people that are no longer with you, and it hit a lot of points with me and hit home for sure. And I think that's kind of what music should do. So that's where we started. Like we felt something, so maybe somebody else would. And that started the EP that was sort of the centerpiece for our project moving forward. And then we slowly wrote a couple things, found a couple things that I older songs that I'd written that I loved. Always wish that I had recorded. Since I didn't have the ride, I did record a solo album a couple years ago.
Yeah.
But you know, without the band, there were certain songs I just hadn't recorded. So a couple of them came in handy. Along Comes a Girl was a cool song. We've been doing the Webb Pierce honky tonk song since '91.
Okay.
I found a cassette that said San Angelo, Texas, Santa Fe Junction, 1991, and that version of us doing it was on that cassette. And I was knocked out at how good it was, man. It was really a cool arrangement that we had. So we tweaked it a bit and went in the studio and cut that as well.
That's cool. That's cool. Do y'all ever get, like, now that y'all, you know, doing some dates as McBride and the Ride, do y'all ever get people come up and say, "Hey, why didn't y'all do that one song?" Or or do you try to incorporate most of the hits during the set? Or
oh yeah, I mean, what we're doing basically, aside from the few new tunes, you know, from the CP, and we do almost all of those in the set, except for maybe one that we don't.
Yeah,
That's How You Know. We don't do that song yet, but it's a bigger song. And anyway, aside from those 3-4 songs, it's basically our set. If you came and saw us, like you know, if you were a 10-year-old kid in '92, it's the same set.
Heck yeah.
we're just doing it for the '90s fans, really, and also trying to incorporate a little bit of new music along the way.
Yeah.
You know,
oh yeah,
we have mixed it up a little bit, but we do all the hits. Anything that was a hit. I say that, you know, first couple singles, we might not do one here and there, but
yeah,
somebody's always disappointed that we didn't do something. They all have their favorites, you know, and I get it. But overall, the band still sounds good. Everybody still plays really well.
That's awesome.
They've never stopped playing. Billy Thomas, our drummer, has been with Vince Gill since McBride and the Ride. That's Billy singing high harmony on Little Liza Jane. You know, going back to like '92.
Yeah.
And so Billy was in Emmylou Harris's band, the Hot Band, when I met him. And but he was also singing on these new Vince Gill records that our producer Tony Brown was producing. You know.
Oh yeah.
So Tony introduced me to Billy because of that. He was kind of making a list in his head of people who might be cool to be in a band. You know. So when he signed me, he had this idea of a band. Our producer Tony Brown. So he knew Ray because Tony had just produced that first album on Lyle Lovett, and Ray was the guitar player on all those tracks on that Lyle Lovett record.
Oh wow!
And still is. Ray still plays on all those Lyle records. So Tony was like, "Man, I know this guy Ray Herndon. He's with Lyle, but he'd be great." And Billy's a great drummer. He had a steel guitar player in mind, Steve Fishel, that was in the band at the beginning, and then it kind of pared down to just the three of us. The singers became the partners of the band. We changed that just a little bit, but we tweaked the band a bit. But we've always had an amazing steel player. We had Bruce Boughton on the road with us at the moment. That's been with us for a while now, and he was with Garth for 10 years or so, and Reba, but he's mainly an A-Team session guy. He played on all those Brooks and Dunn hits, Garth, McBride and the Ride. He's a very respected guy. And he's older like us now, so he likes getting out just a little bit, you know, and still playing.
Who is that you mentioned? Garth?
Bruce Boughton.
I mean, Garth, I don't know who that is.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, that was a pretty good gig
that
he had there for a while. And an amazing track record to play on an artist like that, for sure.
Did y'all have a piano player?
Yeah, we did. We had an amazing young kid named Jeffrey Roach.
Okay.
We were just a 4-piece in the beginning, just you know, trio. and steel guitar,
Uh-huh.
guitar, bass, and drums, guitar, and steel guitar. And then the arrangements got a little bit bigger. We hired on this young kid, Jeffrey Roach. He'd never been on the road. He was a fine, upstanding young Christian man, and
Yeah.
we completely, we showed him the other side of the life. But yeah, it was so much fun. He was so innocent when we met him, and he's still an amazing musician. He's a producer, does a lot of Christian
Oh,
stuff.
cool.
Session player. I still see him every now and then on a demo session. He'll be the guy they hired, and yeah, he's a great guy. He's a funny guy. We had a lot of, and then we went through a slew of other players after
Yeah.
that.
Oh,
A
yeah.
couple, I say a slew, a couple others. Then the band broke up, and I had a whole completely different band for the last album, and finally wrapped that up in '95. We had about a 5-year run. That was it.
Okay. Okay.
With
Yeah.
McBride and the Ride.
But it was I mean, looking back on it, now, aren't you glad you were part of that '90s country machine? I mean, it's like its own genre.
Yeah,
I mean, it's crazy.
it really probably, not only were there probably more artists signed during that period, but also so many memorable artists, which is really key to the '90s
Yeah.
being successful. It was,
Yeah.
it was Alan Jackson, it was Travis Tritt, it was Brooks and Dunn, it was Clint Black, it was
Mm-hmm.
Joe Diffie, it was Diamond Rio. I mean, it
Yeah.
just goes on. It was Little Texas. It was,
Yeah.
it just, whatever you like, there was a little bit of something for everybody
Mm-hmm.
back then. And, really, even what we were doing, we were just bringing our sort of traditional country, arrangements to our sort of modern day uh, arrangements. Really, what we grew up
Oh,
on,
yeah.
we were just our spin on the music that we loved growing up. That's really all it was. Whether it was, we've been doing some dates with John Michael Montgomery, and he's, he loved those big ballads of the '70s like we did. Grew up
Yeah.
on a lot of radio was those big, big pop ballads, and he
Uh-huh.
actually took that he loved and turned it into his own style of
He did.
sort of country music. He was
Mm-hmm.
really his producer as well, of course,
Mm-hmm.
and his team around him. But they found great songs that really fit who he wanted to be.
Oh, yeah. His
And
ballads, killer.
oh, unbelievable. I mean, I went out front just to hear a few, and I was surprised and had forgotten, of course, how many hits he had.
Yeah.
But and career songs, 4 or 5 weeks at number
Mm-hmm.
one. I Can Love You Like That, and
Mm-hmm.
it just went on and on for him. But it was fun to see him because we did a lot of dates with John Michael in the
Okay.
'90s. So it was really fun to reminisce for a bit. Eddie was out there at the time, just kind of
Oh, was he?
the day-to-day guy, and I got to know Eddie. Eddie gave me a cassette and said, "Man, I'm a singer too." And I said, "I didn't know, Eddie. I didn't know you were a singer." And I took his cassette with me on the bus, and man, I was surprised at just how great he sounded.
Mm-hmm.
He had a really cool voice. He was, he wasn't signed or anything back then, of course, but yeah, a talented bunch. They're nephews and artists and a couple cousins, and they've got a lot of
John's
talent.
son is
His son, exactly.
he's grinding every day now, doing really well, it looks like.
Yeah.
My favorite ballad, well, I don't know, I shouldn't say that, of y'all's. Just One Night, I guess, is probably top. It's probably up there. I mean, do you enjoy? I know you sing all these all the time, but
Yeah.
do you the ballads though? I mean, do you enjoy the? I mean, what do you enjoy? Do you enjoy the ballads, the up tempo? Do you enjoy the?
Oh,
I mean,
it's all fun, and that's the thing about what we're doing.
mm-hmm.
We're fortunate that we don't have to just fill our calendar with dates. We're able to take a
Yeah,
lot of these cool dates, good dates
yeah,
that keep us wanting to keep doing this.
mm-hmm.
We put most of our money back into our business so we
Yeah,
can record,
yeah,
so we can have socials and PR and all that good stuff that it takes.
yeah,
So we don't sweat having to do as many dates as some artists, but
right,
we do like doing the good dates, and we do like going out and playing. So
mm-hmm.
that's the main denominator that keeps us together, because we still enjoy getting together and playing because everybody still
Yeah.
plays and sings good. So if for us when we show up, it's fun. I think the
Oh,
crowd picks up on that.
Yeah, yeah.
our show was always a lot more up tempo than people realize because we had a lot of successful ballads. The '90s, as we were discussing, was a big part of that
Right.
big ballad country
Yeah.
era.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, those are still fun. That song in particular, Just One Night, we can break it down. That song was basically an a cappella, a tune that just featured those harmonies that McBride and the Ride was known for. And Ray's a big old baritone singer, and Billy is that lilting high harmony guy that you hope you could get in the band. And so together we had this sort of family brotherly blend that we didn't even realize. We got together because we thought we're all great players. We're going to be badass. It's going to be killer,
Yeah.
and nobody cared about that. But the fact that we had this blend of harmonies and vocal
Huge.
group, everybody cared about that. We
Mm-hmm.
realized this is what we got to focus on. Not that a lot of people can play, but we
Yeah.
have something unique here, and it's
Mm-hmm.
these voices that people seem to like. So I tried to write moving forward, always with that in mind, a chorus or a cool harmony part in the verse or whatever, just to sort of complement our music, but also spotlight those harmonies that were so important to us and to our fans.
God, that one note towards the end. Give it a
Oh,
touch. Man.
yeah.
Woo.
And that song already starts out high, but a lot of the
Yeah,
90s, we modulated several. We had two hits, Can I Count on You, Going Out of My Mind. Those both
that's right.
modulate.
That's right. They did.
But that was a big deal in the 90s, a big dramatic mod,
Oh
take it
man.
up a whole step as if it wasn't high already.
Good
But
Lord. Do y'all still
yeah.
play it? Do y'all still modulate live or
Oh, yeah, we're still in the same
still
key.
do it? Oh
Yeah,
my gosh.
we don't even tune down.
I love it.
We're punishing ourselves out there. We're
I
forcing
love it.
ourselves to be decent. But
Oh, no,
yeah.
you are. I've watched some videos of I've watched some solo dates of yours, and you're killing it. You're like John Barry. John Barry can
Oh yeah.
still sing like nobody's business, and so can
Oh
T. Graham Brown. I mean,
yeah.
but you're
Yeah.
right there with them, Terry.
Oh
You
man.
you do. Your voice is I feel like it just gets better and better. It's like a fine wine.
Oh, Britt, I appreciate that, man. Those guys are excellent singers, so I really appreciate that. T. Graham is so soulful, man. He bears down and still sings so good. But you're right, John. I saw him. I think it was a couple years ago. It was like it was a country music cruise,
Oh yeah.
and I told him later. I just had to compliment him on just how good he sounded. He's just, we're all getting older, but I'm a lot wiser than I was when it comes to singing and taking care of myself.
Mm-hmm.
I've realized the importance of it.
Yeah.
You can get away with a lot when you're younger and take a lot of things for granted when you're younger. But if you're fortunate to stick around, then you have to kind of figure out how to do everything you like moving forward,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
do it well. And singing is a big part of that. I have to take care of myself. I don't drink, so that's a big. I wouldn't have been able to do a lot of things if I continued,
Right.
drinking like I
Yeah.
would, especially at the rate and the way I like to drink. So
Yeah.
I finally realized it. Unfortunately, it's not for me. I
Yeah.
tried. I gave it all I could, and unfortunately survived and lived to tell the tales of whatever. I'm just so thankful the iPhone wasn't happening back then. My kids don't have to see me with my shirt off, acting crazy and.
Could you imagine
Oh.
you included those y'all that group of artists back then if
Woo!
social media would have been around?
Oh my! It would have imploded a few careers for
Yeah.
sure. Because yeah, we were having fun and getting away with whatever. Looking back though, it was pretty harmless. Most of
Oh
it.
yeah, yeah, of course.
It was. Fans. Everybody wants to know, well, what was it like? It was a lot milder than you think, but the fans were so fantastic.
Mm.
I mean, we were proud of each and every one that we had, and
Mm-hmm.
boy, we had our good share of those loyal fans. And what's crazy, Britt, all these years later, they're still there. I mean,
Yeah.
it's probably the most fun part of doing this for sure for me. I'm a very hands-on type of person. I'm also like hearing and I like responding and So the comments and what this music means to these fans has probably been the
Oh, wow.
sweetest part of it,
Mm.
They can just really, melt your heart with some of these comments of what it means to them, or where they were when they heard that song, or when
Oh,
they were
wow.
with their mom and dad, and the stories go on,
Mhm.
and
That's special.
it's very touching. It really is, and it's just powerful. I have those feelings,
Oh, yeah.
with
Yeah.
Willie Nelson. If I
Mm.
see him or I'm around him, I'm giddy, because I'm a fan first and foremost, and
Mhm.
would never really be comfortable because I'm such a fan. I mean,
Yeah.
I, I had songwriters like that I was such a fan of. I could barely, contain myself and just relax and try to write something great. Guy Clark, people
Oh,
like that.
wow, yeah.
It took me a while to kind of get myself together and realize what I'm doing.
What was
But
that like with
no, it
him? What was that?
was amazing, Britt, because I grew up. I told you earlier in the '70s, and
Mhm.
I'd buy these albums and Jerry Jeff Walker, and I'd see Guy Clark on there. It's like,
Mhm.
who is this guy, Guy Clark? It's
Mhm.
like 1975, 6, 7. I was a freshman in '74, so it's that period when I was in a band. I was making money, so I started buying records. If I wasn't putting new mag tires and wheels on my car or dual exhaust, I
What'd
was
you have?
buying.
What car did you
Well, my
have?
my very first car was a '72 Chevelle,
Come on.
and it was the Malibu, so it was really cool body. It was the last year of
Oh,
the muscle car look.
yeah.
It was a killer car. I just happened to get a great deal on it in high school, and and then I went to pickups after that. All my buddies had pickups, so I wanted a car. Something
Yeah.
fast. I wanted
Yeah.
something fast, faster than a truck. And then later, of course, I still have a truck, and I always have. But yeah, that '72 Chevelle. Later, I bought a '72 Super Sport with the 454 and the Cal induction
Golly.
hood. Oh, nobody would ride with me. I just was alone time. The girls, I have all girls. It was AC delete. It was just monster. You know, 400 horsepower, and I could leave a black mark for city block. It was so much fun.
Oh,
But
man.
yeah, it was a lot of fun. So I was kind of a car guy. I'm really not anymore. I had a lot of fun
Mhm.
with it. But yeah, Guy Clark.
Guy
When
Clark, yeah.
I got signed to MCA, Renee Bell was at the label, and she said, "Terry, I'm going to help you through this deal. I'm going to be your day-to-day person." She was Tony Brown's right hand person at the time,
Yeah.
and so she said, "I'm going to start keeping your books. I'm going to start booking you as a cool writer." She was way into songwriters. She knew everyone. And my first co-write in Nashville was Guy Clark. That was my very first co-write. And
Oh, man.
oh, I couldn't sleep for days. It was horrible. As
Oh, I
excited as
bet.
I
Good night.
was, it was just fear and anxiety and all those. I
Jeez.
was definitely writing out of inspiration and a lot of perspiration, as they say. But
Oh, man.
I had about 5 ideas. I was like, I'm not walking in there without
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
couple good ideas, a couple backup plans, and oh my god, I was dreading it and couldn't wait at the same time. And guy was writing over at EMI Music at that time up on the very
Uh-huh.
top floor. He had a little oval window he could pop out and smoke through it.
Yeah.
And so I met him, and I tried to tell him how much he meant to me. He's like, "Ah, hey, I don't want to hear that shit." Yeah, he didn't want to hear any of that. He's a big hulk of a guy. He wasn't real
Uh,
friendly, but here's Guy Clark. He doesn't
mhm.
need someone to help him write a song.
Right, yeah.
And he's in Nashville trying to make a living by writing with guys like me who have a deal. I just got signed to MCA.
Mm.
It's in his best interest that he write with a guy who's got a record deal.
Right, yeah. Oh,
He
yeah.
he doesn't know me. He's just going on the word of Renee Bell, and I know in her mind she was thinking Terry's from Texas, guys from Texas. I get it.
Yeah.
She was thinking it through, and it did make sense, but she had no idea how much he meant to me. But
Mm.
so anyway, I got in there and played him every idea. But he's like, "Man, I really like that first idea you said. Let's work on it." We worked on it. It really things loosened up, and he really made me feel good about hanging out and being there. And
Yeah.
I was so relieved. And then he said, "Hey, man, I think I want to take this home. I'd like to work on it a little bit." And then the next time I wrote with him, he invited me to his house. We no longer wrote downtown.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he said, just come to the house next time and we'll finish this up. I'm like, oh my God, thank God. And then he's like, as we're riding, we got a little bit started. I was feeling good. He was feeling good. And he's like, hey man, you want to get high? And I said, yes, sir. Now I'm a high with guy now.
Yeah.
So it's like, I left there that day, Britt, going, maybe I can do this. I don't know. I thought if it
Oh,
went bad, it might have crushed me. I might have not have recovered from it. I mean,
golly.
my hero, I don't know.
That's
I'm just thankful, so thankful that it
mm,
was a positive day and
mm-hmm.
I left there feeling okay and I got invited back,
Yeah,
So
oh
I thought,
yeah.
well, now I get to go hang out with guys some more, which I did. We'd go have Mexican food and then we'd talk. We did way more talking than we did writing, but I loved it. I just loved everything he had to say. And
Mm.
he had a woodworking shop down the bottom of his sort of townhouse he was living in. He had an exhaust fan in one window, but he had these beautiful guitars he was building, and I wanted one.
Mm.
He'd build like one a year or two, maybe, maybe one a year, but beautiful wood. He was a craftsman, he could
Wow.
used his hands and woodworking, and then they had a whole wall of cassettes. I think they recreated that whole little space. It's in the Country Music Hall of Fame now.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah, all of these cassettes on the wall. And
That's cool.
he was funny. He said, "Yeah, these cassettes. Because someday I'm going to have to get updated to at least like a CD."
Golly. Are you are you recording any of this year solo stuff, or is it just pretty much
uh,
touring and the
yeah, we're
EP?
going to go back in the studio. We just released a single in Texas for Christmas called "Honky Tonkin' Xmas" down in Texas, and
Is that
it
you
got a
or
lot.
you and the boys?
It's McBride and the Ride.
Oh,
It
okay.
was the band. I wrote it with the guys and my friend Bryce Long, great songwriter here
Oh,
in
sweet. Okay.
Nashville. And yeah, it did really well. It got a lot of airplay, and it came in on their big CDX chart, which is just there again. It's the Red Dirt chart, but
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
it charted like a single. And with the other singles that are on the top 40 and stuff.
Oh,
But yeah,
nice.
we're getting some love down there. So my
Mm.
goal is for us to go in this year and record 2, 3 new songs
Mm-hmm.
and release a single or two in Texas because I have a song I just found that I wrote 30 years ago called "All Around Cowboy 1921." It's about my
Oh, wow.
grandfather. He was an all around cowboy. He was a cowboy trying to find his way in a modern day life.
Ah,
He was a bus driver, but he was a cowboy. He's just
yeah.
trying to find a way to make a living. He was a janitor. He was a, but he always had horses. He was always breaking horses, and he was. I learned some of my first cuss words from him hitting the ground. But uh, he was an interesting guy. He's a music lover. He's a domino player, and a lot of this song is about that.
Oh,
Going to the
cool.
domino hall to pick my granddad up, and he's telling this old man. He's an old man. He said, "Hang on, son. I was just telling Roy about the time I was all around cowboy." And
Oh,
and it's a
man.
story about him and his buddy Emmett
Mm.
Gower, a rodeo sort of legend there in Central Texas. And but I love it, man. And I can't believe I let it slip away for 30 years. I found it on a cassette because, like I said, I don't throw anything out. I keep it all here at this little house, and it's a great song. I'm so proud of it. Wrote it with my friend Bill Carter, Ruth Ellsworth, that I was talking to you about earlier. That
Yeah.
took me in and had success with Stevie Ray, and it's just a great story song. And that's one that we're going to cut. I just need to find a
Oh,
couple more.
I love that you found it.
Yeah, I just
forgot about
found
it,
it.
and it's like,
I
yeah.
Man, I forgot it, and then I forgot how good it was. It's a cool demo. I think my friend David Grissom, who's a great guitar player, played with Mellencamp, and
Mm.
he's done Joe Ely, one of my heroes from Texas, and I think David's on the track, and it's a great band. Some of the same guys we used when I was living down there in the late '80s.
Mm.
But yeah, and
That's cool.
I'm going to experiment with the arrangement a little bit. I might want to do it a little more uh, Marty Robbins meets, you know, Trails, songs from the Trail
Yes,
kind of
yes.
vibe. There's just nothing like that
There's
anymore, and
not.
it
Mm-mm.
might be a direction to take it just for making it a little different.
Yeah, yeah.
Instead of making it we know what we can do with it to sound like it's maybe not necessarily Nashville or whatever, or
Right.
country, but what if we put a little spin on it and really dated it and really make it something unique?
Mm.
So that's what we have to find in the studio, Brett. That's kind of sometimes the elusive part of music is how do you want it to represent you? And after you track this in the studio, is it the true representation? Is it exactly like you thought it was going to be, or is it so wildly different it came out better than you'd even imagined? You know?
Do you enjoy that part of the process? Is that one of your
Oh, I
favorite
love
parts?
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it because it is the great unknown. You know,
Yeah.
have no idea what's going to happen till you get in there. It can go in any direction, and we're sort of producing this, so we have to use our producer ears, our
Mm-hmm.
musician and
Mm-hmm.
artist ears, our songwriting ears. You know, all comes
Mm.
into play in the studio. But we've all been doing it a long time, so we have a good idea.
Oh
But
yeah.
that particular song, though, Britt, something like that, we're not set in stone on how it's going to be. Sometimes you get a demo and go, "Oh man, let's just hope we can beat the demo. That song is so good," you know. So it's up to us to make this song whatever we want it to be, and that's the fun part. We do a little pre-production usually, so we don't just sit in the studio and waste time. But we'll figure it out or as close to it as we can before we get there, and then have fun. But
Oh, I'm
yep,
excited about that.
we cut that EP at Peter Frampton's studio,
Okay.
which was really exciting. All of his gear and cool stuff is we were able to use a lot of it, including his killer vocal mic, going all the way back to mics that he bought when he was in Humble Pie,
Wow.
Peter Frampton, and so yeah, it was a great experience, great studio. And then we
That's
recorded
cool.
2 or 3 things at the Castle, another great studio here
Mm-hmm.
in
Oh yeah.
Franklin, Tennessee, where Alan Jackson cut every hit he ever had out there, and everybody from Miley to whoever is cut there. It's a
Uh,
great room,
the,
great tracking room.
Here's a question. I was up there. I was in Nashville a couple weeks ago. My buddy Jesse Keith, Lori's son.
Oh
Um,
yes.
on
Oh,
our
I
way
saw you
home.
did. I checked out a couple of your podcasts. I saw he was on there.
Yeah, yeah,
Lori, yeah.
yeah. Oh yeah. I'm actually, this hadn't been announced yet, and I might have to edit it out, but I'm
Is that
we're
what
getting
you
ready to
do,
announce it.
Brett? Can you condense this down to whatever you want if it
Oh
goes
yeah,
long? Or
but
yeah, you
everything,
can.
hey, but everything that we've got, I am putting out because this has been I'm serious, Terry. This has been such a treat for me.
Oh
Uh,
man,
just knowing that I'm talking to someone I used to listen to on tape as a kid, riding my lawnmower in the country. I'd have
no.
my earphones in and the tape,
Oh man,
Hurry
N-
Sundown, and I was,
nothing better than that, is there? When you're young and you feel like you're driving on the lawnmower.
yeah,
Oh, I used to
yeah,
love that. My grandfather lived next door. He had the mower, but I did all the riding, and oh, I
yeah.
loved it, man.
That's
Same
awesome.
thing. My
That's
favorite songs, and so I really appreciate that, Britt. I feel it. I mean, that music from that era is so powerful, and even
yes.
today, through you, I feel it, man. I appreciate that.
Well,
I was glad
thank you.
this worked out. I like where we're coming from as far as your podcast. I mean, just your love for that era. And
That's the reason I want to give a space for these stars from the 80s and 90s to let people know, hey, they're still touring, they're still
yeah,
making music, and so far it's going real good. But I'm excited. I was going to ask you the castle you were talking about on our way
yeah.
home. I passed by it. It's on the I forget what highway it's 4 lane, but I see a big castle looking thing on top of the hill. That's not the
Oh
one, is
yeah.
it?
No, but that's an
Okay.
interesting. Was that on 840, the loop?
Yeah, so you know what
Yeah,
I'm talking
yeah.
about. Yeah.
That's where they have the Renaissance Festival every year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I was
they used to. I think maybe it has run its course now. That's a privately owned home that a
Oh,
guy started building in high school, Britt.
what?
And now it's like a 7,000 square foot. That's I don't know how much square footage is in that home. It's a massive castle
It
with the
is.
huge turrets and
Yes. Yes.
it's unbelievable. Yeah, it's on the cliff top right on 840 as you
Yeah,
drive
that's it. That
out
is
of
it.
Franklin.
Okay,
Now,
okay.
this castle is every bit as interesting, totally
Uh-huh.
different. It looks just like a castle, and it was built supposedly, and really they have it documented back to Al Capone built this castle as
Oh,
a as a getaway from Chicago when the heat was on. I guess he wanted a place to get away to.
You're
But
kidding. That's
no,
oh
I'm not
wow.
kidding. Yeah, I know
Wow.
it's, and there's all kinds of history and things that trace it back to him. And now this family, I believe from Switzerland, have owned it forever. It's beautiful. It's on the Harpeth River.
Oh, okay.
It's on Old Hillsborough Road. It's a
Oh,
world
okay.
class. It's an amazing studio. Has a little studio A and B, a big tracking room that was probably
Mm.
once the living room. You know,
Mm-hmm.
uh, it's uh, it's not set up quite like a home. It does have the staircase in the tracking room going up to the second floor, which is interesting.
Oh
But
wow.
it's a great studio.
That's cool.
It's kind of out in the country. It's kind of fun to get out, and record there. I live out here anyway, so it's great
Yeah.
for me. But
Yeah.
it's one of those studios our engineers suggested, and we thought, yeah, I've done a lot of work there. I filmed a series of uh, unplugged from my album. I pulled like 3 or 4 songs off of that album, and
Oh.
I re-recorded them and turned it into an EP with my friends, a couple of my friends playing a guitar and fiddle, singing harmony, and I'm playing acoustic. But it's very unplugged, but really, really cool. A song of mine, "Love Me Some Texas," that's on there, and
Is that
I have,
on? Is that available?
yeah, you can find it
Oh.
on my YouTube or wherever you want to go. You can
Oh, I'm
probably
going
find it on
to.
my Terry McBride music.com,
Yeah.
my website. It's on my socials as well. We've
Mm-hmm.
used them a lot, but that's the castle. You can see that tracking room there. It
Oh,
has
nice.
I'm in front of a big fireplace, which, like I said, that probably used to be the living room.
Oh, that's so
But
cool.
yeah, it's a great room. I have a friend that's had the B room for years out there, a young, talented producer, session guy. But yeah, it's a beautiful piece of property too.
Oh, that's cool.
It's an amazing,
We'll
amazing place.
we'll be sure to include all your links and all that when the episode
Oh,
drops. But
thanks.
I have one more question, and I will be fit to be tied if I do not ask you about this. Me and Billy Dean had a big conversation about it, but one of my favorite, if not, it's probably my top 3 favorite movies of all time is 8 Seconds,
Oh
and
man.
and I love you'll be seeing that I'm leaving. Do y'all still do y'all play that live
Oh
or?
yeah. Oh
Okay, okay.
yeah.
What so did y'all get approached? Hey, we're coming out with a movie. We want y'all
Yeah.
to record a song. Okay.
That was it. We were on MCA, and Universal had the rights to the soundtrack,
Oh,
and
okay.
so it was up to them to do what they wanted to with it, and they
Uh
wanted to
huh.
get a lot of their acts, which they did. Vince Gill and
Okay.
I think Reba's in it, and
She is. Yep.
that soundtrack was amazing. But they came to us and said they sent me the script early on and said, "Terry, read the script, and we wanted our however we were set up that year. We were due for a single, and if I wrote a song that was a single, they would come with it. We had a single, and David Lee
Wow.
Murphy had a single. It's
Yeah.
like "Out with a Bang" or whatever that
Uh huh.
song was.
Yeah.
Maybe that was from
Just
that
once.
soundtrack.
Just
Oh,
once.
"Just Once." That's
Yeah.
the one
Yeah.
from the single. "Out with a Bang." That's probably his first
The
single. Yeah,
album. Yep.
yeah, you're right. That was his single from the
You got
soundtrack.
to read the script.
Yeah, they had the script to me. It
Wow.
was really interesting. I still have it,
That is so
and
cool.
then then they were like, "Don't even worry about writing a song based on the movie. We just need an up tempo hit,
Uh huh.
for the soundtrack." And
Yeah.
so all I had on the road with me in the back of the bus at that time was my bass. So I had sort of that little feat. I
Yeah.
had that in my head. So I just wrote the beginning of that song on the bass. That's all I had. And I had those
Wow.
simple, "No more crying. If I'm lying, then I'm dying. No more crying." I thought that's simple enough. I love those inner rhymes.
Yeah.
And then slowly whittled away on the chorus. And then our producer for that soundtrack was Josh Leo, who had been producing Alabama and a lot of cool acts during that
Oh
period.
man.
He was an LA guy that had played guitar on Betty Davis Eyes on that big hit.
Oh,
And
okay.
he was an interesting guy. I really liked him, and we hit it off. And first time we wrote that song together, "No More Crying." And
Uh.
then we tracked it. It was going to be a single. And then they were like, "We'd like to have you guys in the movie
Uh
if
huh.
you would do." I said, "Oh man, we got to be in the movie." And management fought us on it. They're like, that's going to take 2 or 3 days away from touring. I was like,
Oh my
listen,
goodness.
this is important to me. I really want to do this for posterity or whatever, my legacy, whatever
Yeah.
happens, I was almost a movie star, damn it, but, and I tell people all the time when they come and see us, we're in the movie 8 seconds for about 6 seconds, but
I
it
know.
was worth it. It was so much fun. We spent the whole day with Luke Perry,
Yeah.
Stephen Baldwin all day.
Yeah.
Tuff Hedeman was there all day. He was.
Oh, was he? Okay.
Oh yeah, he was the. He was there as their advisor.
Yeah. Okay, that's cool to know.
And Lane Frost's wife was there all day.
Yeah.
She was there as well.
Well,
So,
that's a special project, man. I had to ask you about that.
It was so fun. Then I went to the world premiere of Billy Bob's
Oh, you
with
did?
everybody. Mark Chestnut played, and a lot of us played that night. It was it was a blast. They reminded me the other day, this is the 30th anniversary of that movie.
Oh
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, 30 years ago.
Oh man. Well,
it's coming up.
I had to ask you about it.
Yeah, man.
Well, my first trip to Austin, I'll close with this. My first trip to Austin will be in April, towards the end of April.
Wow.
So I'm excited. I've never been.
What's happening? What are you doing down there?
I'm going with Jesse to, I think it's called Two Step In Festival.
Oh, the festival. Oh
yeah,
yeah.
Yeah. And
huge.
they're doing something for his dad that night. Cody Johnson is, and so yeah. So I'm excited.
Last year was the first year.
Okay.
Of the Two Step In Festival. I think it's the same organizers that organized the Austin City Limits Festival.
Oh, nice.
But it's in Georgetown, Texas.
Okay.
Just down the highway. You're only like less than 30 miles from Austin in Georgetown.
Okay.
But, yeah, Austin's still a cool place. It barely resembles the place I grew up in. It's just become so massive,
Yeah.
The growth is just shocking. From the way it looked when I left there in '91, especially. But I've been back many times. Like I said, looking forward to going back this year and I already have tour dates in Texas, Temple and Ranger, Texas. Both of those are with Doug Stone. Those are coming up. Those are coming up in March, and I'll be in Ohio with Doug and the 17th of February, and then we're slowly easing back into it. And then McBride and the Ride dates start after that. But yeah. Have your followers check us out at
I will. I'll no doubt.
You know how to all the socials and links, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, we're going to promote it big time, man. I am. And Terry, I'm a fan. I love it, and I just want you to know how much I appreciate you giving me this over an hour of.
Oh man,
it's just been fun, and I want all my artists to enjoy it. So
that's always the good part when you don't even think about the time. So
yeah,
I've enjoyed it too, man. I appreciate you being kind and considerate, and it's been a pleasure. And this part of it for me is the fun of hearing your side of the story too. I know I did most of the talking, but I like that.
You're great.
I like that you've led me into these stories that hopefully somebody wants to hear. If not, we had a good time visiting.
No, it's awesome. Look, Lori's like, Britt, I'm so tired of being on autopilot, and I love, because so me and her talked for almost 2 hours, and and Mark Miller, Sawyer Brown even told me that too. He's like, I don't like asking all the same, so I try to make it different. I like it just being a conversation in a kitchen, just hanging out. So I
scrolled down on your, I guess maybe it was Facebook, or it might have been YouTube or whatever. I found I had several of your podcasts that I could scroll down.
A lot of your buddies.
Yeah, man. No, absolutely. That's another great thing too. Yeah, we've run into so many people out here that we used to tour with, and it's fun. I mean, we're proud of what we're doing. So that's as long as we're doing it good like this, and people leave, like you said, we can still sing, and that makes it so much fun at night. Just seeing the crowd react and respond to it, and they get the feeling that we're having fun, and it's pretty contagious after that,
That's right. Well, you were part of something special, and that's 90s country. It's and I'm so glad to know that y'all are still at it, and we're going to promote y'all like crazy and let everybody know your tour dates. And I hope I get to come by and hang out one day. So maybe this year I'll look for some dates.
got to do that. We're just now adding a few more. We're kind of scattered this year, a little everywhere from Minnesota to Kansas City. We've been playing a cool place in Kansas City called Knuckleheads. This will be our third time to play there. It's a killer venue, outdoor, indoor. It's a whole compound of cool venues. Several venues within one space. It's really cool. But yeah, we've got some interesting stuff coming up. There's fairs, more dates with John Michael. I guess he's winding down this year too, from what I hear. So it'll be fun. I know we're up in Montana with him, so it's going to be interesting. But,
cool.
Yeah, I'd love to have you come out. All your followers and listeners, come see us. We'd love to see you out there.
Sir. Yes, sir. Well, thank you so much, and I'll see you soon.
Cool. Thanks, Brett. It's been a pleasure, man.
All right, Terry. Thank you.
See ya.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
We were roping the wind every Friday night, singing those songs, living our lives with all our friends down in the lowest places. We would ride around with the tailgate down, rodeo playing in the background. All those memories we were making. We never went down until the sun came up. Papa loved Mama blasting in my truck. I was calling Baton Rouge. Shameless, it never got old. I still hear that thunder roll. It's where I've been. It's made me who I am. Somebody play me those songs again. Well, the whole town cried the day Nolan died. We sang the dance at his last goodbye. And up the river, his vessel will sail on. Just to relive all our glory days, singing those songs, all the noise we made that summer. I wanna ride around those tracks again. Yeah, we never went down until the sun came up. Papa loved Mama blasting in my truck. I was calling Baton Rouge. Shameless, it never got old. I still hear that thunder roll. It's where I've been. It's made me who I am. Somebody play me those songs again. We were walking the beaches of Cheyenne, standing outside the fire. I'm still thankful for my unanswered prayers, looking in another's eyes. Yeah, we ain't going down until the sun comes up. Papa loved Mama blasting in my truck. And I'm still calling Baton Rouge. Shameless, it'll never get old. I still hear that thunder roll. It's where I've been. It's made me who I am. Somebody play me those songs again. If tomorrow never comes, I wonder what she's doing now.